Have you ever opened your bank account just a few days after getting paid and thought, where did all my money go? Maybe you promised yourself that this month would be different. You would save more, spend less, finally get ahead. Then payday arrived, and somehow before the month was even halfway over, the same thing happened again. Bills were paid. Food was bought. A few nights out became several. Something you wanted suddenly became something you needed, and before you knew it, your bank balance was almost empty. Then came the familiar thought, if only I earned more money. But here is the uncomfortable question. What if earning more money isn't the first solution? What if you doubled your income tomorrow, but kept exactly the same financial habits? Would your financial future really change, or would your lifestyle simply become more expensive? Today, we're going to follow the story of a young worker named Daniel. His salary was small. His dreams were much bigger. And for years, he believed his income was the reason he couldn't get ahead. But one painful experience forced him to discover a different truth. Financial security doesn't begin when you earn more. It begins when you learn what to do with what you already earn. And by the end of this story, you'll learn 5 practical money lessons you can apply to your own life. Chapter 1. Working hard but going nowhere. Daniel was 25 years old. Every morning, before most people in his neighborhood were awake, he got dressed and headed to work. He worked as an employee at a busy grocery store. His job wasn't glamorous. He stocked shelves, unloaded deliveries, cleaned aisles, helped customers, and spent most of the day on his feet. By the time he returned home, he was exhausted. But there was one thing that bothered him more than the physical tiredness. Despite working hard every single day, he never seemed to move forward financially. Daniel rented a small apartment. He had basic furniture, an old phone, a second-hand laptop, and almost no savings. Every month followed the same pattern. Salary came in, bills went out, then spending increased, and eventually the money disappeared. Daniel wasn't irresponsible in every area of his life. He was simply living without a financial system. And that distinction matters. Because many people don't have a spending problem because they are careless. They have one because their money has no assignment. Daniel had never created a clear plan for his income. He simply spent whatever remained in his account, and whatever remained was usually nothing. Chapter 2. The Payday Illusion. When payday arrived, Daniel felt different. For a few hours, he felt wealthy. His bank balance looked healthy. His friends would message him. Let's go out tonight. Let's celebrate. You worked hard. You deserve it. And Daniel agreed. A restaurant here, entertainment there. A new pair of shoes, a few online purchases, small expenses that didn't feel dangerous individually. But together, they quietly consumed his paycheck. This is one of the most important financial lessons. Small spending decisions can create large financial consequences. Imagine earning $1,000 a month. You spend $5 here, $10 there, $20 on something you didn't plan to buy. It doesn't feel like much, but hundreds of those decisions eventually become thousands of dollars. And Daniel had another problem. He wasn't spending because he was investing in his future. He was spending because he wanted to look like he was doing well today. He bought things that gave him temporary satisfaction, but those purchases didn't improve his financial position. 1 week after payday, Daniel was back to checking his bank balance carefully. 2 weeks later, he was counting the days until his next salary. 3 weeks later, he was borrowing small amounts from friends. And when the next payday finally arrived, the cycle started again. Chapter 3. The moment everything changed. One evening, Daniel was walking home after work. He was hungry. He stopped outside a restaurant and looked at the menu. The smell of freshly cooked food filled the air. He reached into his pocket. There was barely enough money left for a basic meal. He walked away. That night, Daniel couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about one question: how can I work this hard and still have nothing? The following weekend, something happened that changed his thinking. While walking through his neighborhood, Daniel saw a family outside a rented house. Their belongings were packed into a few bags. The landlord was demanding payment. The family had nowhere else to go. Daniel stood there watching, and then he heard something that stayed with him. The landlord said, "Working isn't enough. You need a plan." Daniel went home thinking about those words. He looked at his own apartment, his empty savings account, his unpaid expenses, his habit of spending immediately after payday, and suddenly he saw the connection. His problem wasn't simply that his salary was small. His problem was that every paycheck disappeared without building anything. That night, Daniel made a decision. He would stop asking, "How can I spend this money?" and start asking, "What job should this money do?" That was the beginning of his financial transformation. Chapter 4. Lesson 1. Give every dollar a job. The next morning, Daniel went to the local library. He began reading about personal finance. He wasn't looking for a secret investment. He wasn't searching for a shortcut. He wanted to understand the basics. The first lesson he discovered was simple. Don't spend first and save whatever is left. Instead, decide where your money goes before you spend it. Daniel created 4 basic categories: essential expenses, savings, future goals, personal spending. For the first time, his paycheck had a purpose before it even arrived. This changed everything. Instead of seeing $1,000 as one large amount of money, Daniel started seeing it as a collection of responsibilities. Some money paid for housing. Some paid for food and transportation. Some protected his future. And some could be used for enjoyment without destroying his plan. This is the foundation of budgeting. A budget isn't a punishment. A budget is simply a plan for your money. Chapter 5. Lesson 2. Save before lifestyle expands. When Daniel received his next paycheck, he did something unusual. Before going out with his friends, he saved a small amount. It wasn't much, but that wasn't the point. The point was consistency. He realized that saving $20 once wouldn't change his life, but saving $20 every month could become a habit, and habits repeated for years can produce results that individual actions cannot. Daniel also learned an important principle: increase your savings when your income increases, not your lifestyle first. Because this is where many people get trapped. They receive a raise. Then they upgrade their phone, move into a more expensive apartment, eat at more expensive restaurants, buy a newer car, and suddenly the raise disappears. Their income increased, but their financial security didn't. Daniel decided that whenever his income eventually increased, part of that increase would go toward his future. He wanted his lifestyle to improve, but he didn't want his expenses to consume every improvement in income. Chapter 6. Lesson 3. Stop trying to look rich. Daniel's hardest battle wasn't budgeting. It was social pressure. His friends noticed that he wasn't going out as often. They noticed that he stopped buying expensive clothes. They joked that he had become boring. At first, Daniel felt embarrassed. Then he realized something. Some of the purchases he had made in the past weren't really for himself. They were for other people's opinions. He wanted people to think he was successful. But appearing wealthy and becoming financially secure are completely different things. Someone can have expensive clothes and an expensive car and still have no emergency savings. Someone else can live simply, while quietly building assets and financial security. Daniel began asking himself a new question before spending. Would I still buy this if nobody could see it? That one question saved him from many unnecessary purchases. And this is an important lesson. Wealth is not always visible. Sometimes the person who looks the least impressive financially is the person making the strongest financial decisions. Chapter 7. Lesson 4. Build an emergency cushion. Months passed. Daniel continued saving. Eventually, something happened that would have destroyed his old financial life. His work hours were temporarily reduced. His income dropped. The old Daniel would have panicked. He would have borrowed money, used credit, asked friends for help. But this time was different. He had savings, not enough to become rich, but enough to give him breathing room. That emergency fund didn't make him wealthy, it gave him time. And that is one of the most valuable things money can provide. An emergency fund helps protect you from turning every unexpected expense into a financial crisis. A broken appliance, an urgent repair, a temporary loss of income, an unexpected bill. Life doesn't always follow your budget. That is why financial planning must include room for the unexpected. Daniel understood something powerful. Savings aren't only for buying things. Sometimes savings exist to protect you from having to make desperate decisions. Chapter 8. Lesson 5. Don't depend on one income forever. Daniel's financial habits were improving, but he realized something else. Saving alone had limits. There was only so much he could cut. He could reduce unnecessary spending, but he couldn't cut his way to unlimited wealth. So Daniel began working on the other side of the equation, increasing his earning power. After work, he started learning. He studied business. He learned basic digital skills. He researched small business ideas. He experimented with simple projects. At first, nothing happened. One idea failed. Another made almost no money. Some weeks he wondered whether the extra effort was worth it. But he continued. Eventually, one small side project began generating modest income. It wasn't life-changing. But Daniel wasn't looking for overnight success. He was building another financial engine. His salary paid for his current life. His savings created protection, his new income created opportunity, and his knowledge helped him make better decisions. This is how financial progress becomes more powerful. You control spending, you build savings, you increase your skills, you increase your earning potential. Then you use your surplus to build assets and long-term opportunities. So let's return to the question we asked at the beginning. If your salary doubled tomorrow, would your financial life truly change? Maybe, but only if your habits changed with it, because more income can create more opportunity. But without discipline, more income can simply create more expenses. Your next paycheck is coming, and when it arrives, you have a choice. You can allow it to disappear, or you can give it a purpose. Pay your necessities, protect your future, save something, invest in your knowledge, increase your earning ability. And most importantly, stop measuring financial success by how much you can spend. Start measuring it by how much control you have over your future. You don't need millions of dollars to begin. You don't need to become rich overnight. You don't need to impress anyone. You simply need to start making better decisions with what you already have. Because wealth is rarely built in one dramatic moment. It is built quietly, one paycheck at a time, one habit at a time, one decision at a time. And one day you may look back and realize that the small choices you almost ignored were the choices that changed your entire financial future. So, when your next paycheck arrives, ask yourself, ***, will this money disappear? Or will it become the foundation of something bigger? If this story gave you a new perspective on money, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. And in the comments, tell us what is one financial habit you are going to change starting today. Your future doesn't begin when you become rich. It begins with what you do with the money you have today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.